Book 1, The Blazing Ronin, Wandering Blades. Chapter 6, Clash of Shadows. Night had fallen over the northern provinces, cloaking the landscape in deep shadows. But there was one place still burning bright with activity, the imposing palace of Lord Ito, the corrupt shogun. Akira studied the formidable structure from his concealed vantage point in the surrounding forests. The palace was a sprawling complex of ornate wooden buildings and high stone walls, bristling with guard patrols and defensive emplacements. Getting inside would be no easy task. "You seem deep in thought, Blazing Ronin," a feminine voice stated from beside him. "Plotting our infiltration, no doubt." The young warrior didn't need to turn to identify the speaker. The light, slightly accented tones belonged to Hana, the former Crimson Lotus assassin. Her presence at his side had become increasingly frequent over the past few days since pledging her blade to his cause. "This will be no simple raid," Akira responded after a moment, his deep voice tinged with grim intensity. "Ito has amassed an incredible force here to protect his palace and personal stronghold. We will face his most elite samurai guards at every turn. Is that supposed to dissuade me?" Hana challenged, a hint of amusement coloring her words. "You know I live for impossible odds, Ronin." Despite himself, Akira felt the corners of his lips quirk upwards in a slight smile. The kunoichi's confidence and brazen attitude were a marked contrast to Keiya's more reserved demeanor. Though he would never admit it aloud, the young warrior found Hana's presence invigorating in a way. "Your arrogance will be your undoing one day, assassin," he chided lightly. "There are opponents here that could prove too much, even for one of your incredible skills." Hana scoffed loudly, rising from her crouch to face the Ronin fully. Even in the dim moonlight, Akira could make out the derisive smirk playing across her full lips. "You speak as if you've already forgotten our first encounter in the forest, Blazing Ronin. When my blades danced circles around that vaunted katana of yours until you could barely stand." The kunoichi took a step closer, her eyes glittering with playful challenge as she leaned in until their faces were mere inches apart. "Or need I remind you how easily I was able to slip inside your guard, and show you just how outmatched you truly were?" Akira held Hana's heated gaze for a long moment, feeling his pulse begin to quicken despite himself. This woman's ability to get under his skin was unparalleled, like a flaming arrow slipping through the slimmest gap in his armor. Finally, the Ronin gave a slight shake of his head and turned away, straightening to his full imposing height as he recentered himself. "Save your taunts and provocations for our enemies within the palace walls, assassin," he stated, his deep voice tinged with quiet rebuke. "We will need to be at our most focused if we are to overcome the challenges ahead." As if on cue, the towering crimson armored form of Kozue the Ravager emerged from the tree lean to join them. The former captain of Ito's elite guard studied the palace through the slits of his fearsome mask for a moment before rumbling a greeting. "I have scouted the outer perimeter and relayed our infiltration point to the rest of the vanguard," he stated, his deep voice laced with intensity. "We are clear to proceed on your command, Blazing Ronin." Akira gave a slow nod of acknowledgement, his emerald gaze lingering on the palace for a final moment before turning to face his two allies. Despite their bravado, he could sense the undercurrent of tension, of uncertainty thrumming between them. This was it, the point of no return. From here, their path would lead them into the heart of their enemy's stronghold, against opponents and evils the likes of which they could scarcely comprehend. Akira opened his mouth to address them when a familiar voice rang out from nearby. "If I may have a moment before we depart." The three warriors turned to see Keiya approaching, her expression one of grim determination despite the slight waver in her voice. The young woman met the Ronin's intense gaze steadily, seemingly drawing strength from the emerald flames burning in his eyes. "I know you have tried to dissuade me from joining the vanguard on this mission, Akira," she began, her words laced with quiet conviction. "You fear for my safety, that I will be in over my head against such skilled opponents." Keiya held up a hand as the Ronin opened his mouth to respond, pressing on. "But you forget, I have been by your side since that first village, witnessing everything you are capable of firsthand. If there is any path I wish to follow, it is yours. The young woman's eyes shone with a fierce inner fire as she leveled her stare at Akira. You are the Blazing Ronin, a true hero for this age whether you accept that mantle or not. And I will be damned if I sit idly by while you face such incredible dangers without me there to guard your back. A heavy silence fell over the forest clearing as Kaya's words hung in the air. Akira studied the young woman for a long moment, a myriad of emotions playing across his chiseled features. Finally, he gave a slow, solemn nod of acceptance. You are right, I cannot stop you from walking this path, he stated, his deep voice tinged with reluctant respect. I can only hope that my guidance and the skills you have honed will be enough to see you through what lies ahead. The Ronin's emerald gaze seemed to blaze even brighter as he turned to regard Kozue and Hana once more. For make no mistake, Lord Ito's palace will test us all in ways we cannot begin to fathom. We will face his most elite samurai, bound by neither honor nor mercy. Opponents who have fully embraced the darkness for the sake of power and prestige. Akira slowly drew his katana, the brilliant emerald blade seeming to shimmer and pulse with ethereal energy. He leveled the point towards the heavens, his expression one of intense focus and determination. Our enemy is corruption and chaos given form. But we are the Blazing Vanguard, united by a singular purpose to combat the ancient evils that threaten to consume this world. To be the guiding flame that cuts through the shadows and restores balance, no matter the sacrifices required. The young warrior's emerald gaze swept over each of his companions in turn, burning with the intensity of a sun-going supernova. So I ask you one last time, are you ready to truly walk the path of the Blazing Ronin? To brave the fires of oblivion itself for the sake of redemption? One by one, Kaya, Kozue and Hana all gave solemn nods of affirmation, gripping their respective weapons tightly as they prepared themselves. Akira regarded them for one final moment before turning on his heel and beginning to stride towards the palace, his allies falling into step behind him. Then let the ashes be seared from our souls this night, the Ronin intoned, his deep voice resonating with lethal intensity. For our blades will taste blood before the dawn.